Well, hello, educator friends, and welcome to the School Life series. I'm your host, Ross Braun, and I am so glad you're here today. This podcast is created for educators across the country. The people doing the real work in schools every single day. Each episode features real educators, real stories, and real strategies to help you not only survive the work, but stay connected and remind you why you became an educator in the first place. On every episode, we will bring you fresh ideas, strategies, and perspectives, allowing you to grow in your profession, learning from the best educators all over the country. Season 4 is all about sustaining educators, strengthening schools, and staying human in this profession. I'm so excited to kick off today's episode. Let's do it. Well, today we are continuing right into season 4 with just another awesome educator who is ready to make a positive impact on you. So here we go. AJ Bianco is our special guest. He is a proud forever educator, just like me, who speaks my language. It's the language of positivity. He is a true leader. He believes that leadership is about people first and presence every day. He's a fellow podcast host. So we connect there really well. Lover of sports, proud dad, and just like so many of our guests, just an awesome human being. So, AJ, thank you for being here today. I'm so excited to have you on the School Life series.
Ross, I appreciate it, man. When I got the invite, I was like, I am all in. I enjoyed the podcast so much. I enjoy listening to you guys. Some great guests. You have some great insight. So I'm ready to make some positive vibes with you today because I know that's where you're at.
Yeah, thanks, man. You know the role we're in and the work we're about to do. So before we get into the work, I always like to start here. Let's just talk about you. I gave you an introduction, but it wasn't enough. So tell our listeners, who you are on a personal note.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head, right? I see myself as an educator first. This is year 21 for me in schools, and it's something I always wanted to do from when I was a kid. That was it. That was my dream was either play for the Yankees or become a teacher. So unfortunately, the dream didn't come out. But hey, look, the second thing up isn't so bad. I've been doing this for a long time, and I love every minute of it.
Hey, at least you can have facial hair now if you since you're not playing for the Yankees.
Yeah, it's true. Now I'd be okay now. They got the beard, but no, no. I love what we do. I love education, but besides an educator, I am a dad and a husband, father of three, trying to be as active as I can be in their lives, whether it's coaching, whether it's, taking them places they want to see and experience, that's who I am. And it's like, what else do you do? It's like, I play golf for myself, but otherwise it's like education and dad. That's really about it for me.
Yeah, I love it. And it's so true. Like I'm a big believer in seasons of life. And right now in the season of life that we are both in is we're dad first, right? We got to pour into these
Absolutely.
kids because these are years that you will not get back. These, are so key and important years in the lives of your kids. And that's, what I think we connected so much on, like we just see each other in that and how important it is to be the role of dad in this season of life that we're in. And so thank you for sharing about that. Let's talk a little bit about your education journey. You said it's year 21 for you. Where'd you start as an educator? I don't know if I said, but you are from Jersey. And have you
hmm
always been from Jersey? Give us a little insight.
Yeah, so I'm actually was born and raised in New York in Rockland County. So that's about, 25 30 minutes out of New York City. And my journey actually started there. I was at a day camp. I was a counselor and I built up my way through like camper counselor, all of those things. And I was my first year as a counselor in training. I had 5 or 6 year old boys as my group, and we were playing. I was having a great time, and I went home one day that summer. I said to my parents, I said, I'm going to be a teacher. I was like, of course I'm going to play baseball, but I'm going to be a teacher. My mom said, yeah, I could have told you that years ago. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And that was like 12, 13-year-old me, a boy
Yeah.
that age. It was either sports or whatever else. So I knew I was going to be an educator, and it started there. And from that moment on, everything I did really centered around trying to get to the place where we are now, right? It was working with kids, it was coaching, volunteering time, working with my coaches and doing different camps for kids, whether it was regular camp, whether it was special needs camps for sports. I
Mhm.
was all in because I really loved the aspect of being with kids and helping kids grow. When I went to college, I wanted to be an elementary teacher, but I realized like that age group as a teacher wasn't for me. So like my
Yeah.
whole career from that point on was middle school based, and it was social studies. And when I was in the classroom, it was all about bringing technology and having personalized learning, because I truly believe that our kids are not going to learn unless they find passion in the things that they're doing. So
Mhm.
now in the principal chair, I really try to spread that message the best I can to my staff, because
Yeah,
kids are going to memorize things and that'll be the end of it. But we want them to remember the moments and the things that they're learning. So that's where my journey is right now.
that's cool. Great. Yeah, and you're in an elementary setting, and now as a principal, I want to hit on something that you talked about, like, all of the roles that led you into the principal seat. Did you ever? Because I talk to a lot of aspiring principals, and they're so fixated on having the title. For you, I don't think that was it. Why did you want to become a principal?
Yeah, I don't know. I ask myself that every day. No, I'm just kidding. You said it. You said it in one of your recent episodes, man. It's impact, right?
Yeah,
And like, I love the impact I made in the classroom, right? It was always fun every year to reach out to 80, 90, 100 kids, and do my thing with them in the classroom. But then, like, something switched for me as I had kids, right? As I became dad, I saw that there was more for our kids that they needed in their classrooms. So I started to do like the conference thing, and I started presenting at ed camps, and I got that
yeah,
bug of presenting. So I started doing like PDs and like technology and the flipped classroom, and I saw that impact there. And I was like,
yeah,
all right, I need to do something more. So I started going to like supervisor. And then I was like, at the supervisor role, I was like, I want to be a principal. I want to run a building. I want everybody to feel the passion that I have for education. I
yeah,
want them to feel the same way. So I never wanted to be in this role. Never. I
yeah.
wanted to be in the
I can
classroom. I
relate.
saw myself as a lifelong classroom teacher. I thought I'd be doing it for 40, 50 years. But, like I said, my kids were born and I know that there needed to be more. So I wanted to make that impact on a larger scale.
Yeah. Great answer. Great answer. And I think we do have a lot of inspiring leaders, and AJ hit the nail on the head here. If you are in a position as a classroom teacher, and you say, I want more, get it involved. Start leading, whether that's just a PLC in your school or whatever it may be, because your passion is contagious. Your positivity is contagious. And we need more of that. I think we have really great teachers in the classroom that just kind of want to stay inside their four walls and are very comfortable. And I respect that. But at the same time, like, your school needs more of you. And so start showing others what you're doing, and showcasing what it is, because it's special and it's not normal. And we need more of it in our schools.
You are correct. Don't be
Yeah. So
afraid. Don't be afraid.
don't be yeah, so great. So one question I always like to ask, as we wrap up our introduction a little bit, is who has been biggest influence on you in your life?
Man, yeah, it's there's so many outside influences, right? There's a lot of people I
Yeah.
met as I'm going through this journey in education. Like, there's people I follow. Like you think of a guy when you think of the principalship, right? You think automatically like Baruti Kafele, and like I love him, and I
Oh
and I'll
man.
listen to
Yeah.
him everything he does, right? And like try to hear him as I do my thing. But like my biggest influences are my family, right? Mom and dad from jump, as they continue to push me, and like, there were times, like, early on in the career, I'm like, "I don't think I'm making the impact I want to. Maybe this is not the right profession." And I'm like, "I'm gonna back out." My parents are like, "No, no, no, you're not backing out. Like, keep going." And then my wife, when I started looking at, like, the assistant principal and the principalship, she's like, "Keep going. I know it's hard, but, like, she always pushed, and my parents always pushed. And my sister, who was an educator, she told me it'll get better. There are things. So I look at my family as like that real inspiration. Again, there are so many people out in the education world that I've met
Yeah.
through Twitter and through these conferences, but it's really those people that continue to motivate me every day that have got me to this point now.
Yeah. Good. Champions.
There you go.
Champions.
Champions.
Everybody needs them. And so, let's add a little lighter moment here in the episode. This is always a fun one to see what answers we get. Education is just full of moments that, others from the outside rarely see. So many moments like, you are not going to believe this happened. What is a moment for you in your career that you would say, you wouldn't believe this happened to me?
Man, there's so many moments where we could just sit back and be like, we should have wrote a book on this, right? Like,
Absolutely.
there's like the cameras that are watching us in the school. They should be like a reality show. I couldn't think of one moment, right? I think the moments that don't always include me, but like, you look at
Uh-huh.
some things that happen and you just laugh. Like the other day, my counselor, I'm going to do this one. My counselor and our custodian were helping a young lady because she panicked that she had thrown her retainer away in the garbage during lunch. Right. So I'm checking this out in the cameras. They're telling me this story. They're looking through the garbage in in the cafeteria, trying to find this retainer. The custodian had then realized he might have taken the garbage out. So they went into the dumpster. So I got the counselor jumping into the dumpster, digging through the bags to try to find the retainer. Unfortunately, they couldn't find the retainer. But like these are the stories we have because this
Is it?
poor
Yeah.
girl, fourth grade girl, is in tears. I'm gonna go home. My parents are gonna be so upset. I threw my retainer away.
And
Like,
yeah,
and look, this is what educators do for their kids. They want to make sure these kids go home happy every single day. So something like that, that's a story that I'm
that's
gonna
it.
tell as best I can
You'll
going forward.
you'll never forget that for sure. I was hoping you like found it on the camera, like she put it, somewhere else and they were searching for hours.
I was
That would
gonna
have
say
been great.
to be honest, I was gonna say like she was telling me, I was like, did she leave it at home? Because how many of those stories we have where kids like, I can't find my cell phone, I had it here, and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden they get home like, Mr. Bianco, my phone was on my dresser. I never brought it to school.
never
So I
had
was
it at
waiting for like a
school.
twist like that in that story.
Yeah, that'd been too good. Well, it's a great lead to our final intro question. And I love this. This is a new question in season 4, and I love the answers I've been getting. But what is something about education that you wish people outside of education understood or saw?
I'm gonna go a little deep with this one, right? Because this is like my
Yes,
thing
please.
lately. This is my, 'cause as dad, as a former student myself, something that people need to realize is grades don't matter. You know, that has been the hardest thing for me because everything that we do, right? We teach our kids, and what's at the end? A test. And the test shows how well the kids did and what they learned and all that.
Yeah.
Grades don't matter, right? It's not about the A. It's not about the 65. Like, oh, does that show the kid doesn't know it? No, it just shows that kid struggled on a test because I was a terrible test taker. But if you ask me things from school or you ask me stats or anything like that, I can regurgitate it for you because I memorized it. But you put a test in front of me where I have to sit there and do multiple choice questions, I'm going to struggle. In New York, we had a Regents test, and that Regents test told us whether or not we can get the appropriate diploma to move on to the appropriate college and
Yeah.
so on, right? I remember sitting in my math class my junior year, taking the Regents exam, sweating profusely because I was so nervous that I couldn't remember the different functions. I couldn't remember the different equations I had to figure out. Guess what? I'm sitting here right now. And whether I did badly
Yeah.
or poorly on that test, or if I did great on that test, it doesn't matter because I don't
Yeah.
think I did very well. But I still went to college. I still got my degree and I still continued the path that I was on. So look, it's not the grades, it's the kid. And as a leader, I really believe that we have to teach the whole child and not just the child that's going to take the test to get them to a point. Whether it's a state exam, whether it's a test in your classroom, those grades don't matter.
Yeah. There's nothing soft about soft skills. They
There you
are
go.
mandatory, right? We have a child that graduates from our high school and they go on to the workforce, again, grades aren't going to follow them, but those employability skills are going to be the top of the list. That's what we're looking for, whether you're a
Absolutely.
B student or a C student or an A student. So, great answer.
It's
Great
how you
answer.
collaborate, it's how you work with others, and how you promote yourself that you can do more than just follow along what's on the page.
Yeah, great. Well, let's get into today's topic. And this is something that AJ and I have connected on over social media. I think both of us do this well, and we are, I would call us positivity promoters. But we are diving into a topic that I think all educators can relate to because it is 2026. It is educating. AJ's already said it once. It's hard work. It's not easy. And so today's topic is turning trials into triumph or challenges into success. So, regardless of your role in education, this is for you. I know, we have tough days, more tough days than great days sometimes in different seasons of the school year. And it's so easy for us to dwell on negativity, soak in the setbacks, but not today. AJ is here to give us a perspective of positivity from a building leader and even from a teacher mindset. So, AJ, when I gave that, intro of today's topic, what immediately comes to mind for you?
Well, two things, right? Obviously, I feel like bringing the positive is very important, right? Because I feel like how you react and how you act with people is contagious, right? If I walked around with my head down, sulking throughout my building, the students are going to see it, the teachers are going to see it, and they're going to follow suit, right? So you want to bring that contagious positivity, and just a smile goes such a long way. A high five,
Yeah.
fist bump, whatever it is. That's where we are positive. The other thing I think about when you say positivity, what's that term lately is that toxic positivity, right? That fake everything's going to be great. No, not everything's going to be great. And that's okay, because you can be in those moments where you feel down, because like, look, it happens, right? I feel like more of us feel that way than not, because we have that phone in our hands and we're scrolling through social media, we're looking at things that other people are doing. But for me, like, a quote goes such a long way. Like, on my wall back here, you can probably see it over my shoulder,
Yeah.
is the Man in the Arena, right? By Roosevelt. The Man in the Arena. That's something that stays with me. I have a screenshot on my phone, because when you're feeling down, you need something that's going to build you back up. You need to be part
Hmm.
of it. You need to actually, like, go towards something. So for me, that positive is just something that we have to push others to feel, because you need them on your side and you need them in a good mindset.
Yeah, that's good. And I like that you brought up toxic positivity. That is something I think people accuse me of a lot. Like, ah, you're just too happy, too toxic. And it's not it at all. It's genuinely, I want success for you. I've never stepped foot into your school. I don't know your teachers, AJ, but I want the best for your school because I want everyone that you deserve happiness, and happiness comes through positivity, through success. And so how do we get there? And so that's kind of leads me into my next question. What are some ways that you practice this as a building principle? You mentioned, the high fives and handshakes. So what are some ways that you really like get your staff through tough times?
Yeah. So look, I mean, there are small things, small tokens that we can do to positively impact people. And I think being visible in the building is one of the ways. I think for the kids is just, letting them see who you are as an adult, right? I think that really puts them forward, and it allows them to see somebody who's different, I guess, in a way,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I think by having your teachers' backs is something I believe in. Like, I might have to be stuck in the office sometimes. Like, today is not a school day, so I'm in the office, but nobody's in the building but me. But this is not me on a typical day. I'm out, I'm about, I'm trying to make my way. I like being in the cafeteria. I like being out at recess. I like moving around. It helps that I can't sit still. So moving around and being visible and being in the classroom and even taking part in a lesson, you know, I, I
Hmm.
think that's something that I do for my teachers. Like, it's sometimes like, do you need me? I'm like, no, just here to watch, just here to take part, just want to be part of your lesson, just want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a change for people, but that really is what sets up that positivity. When staff sees that you're around and that you're part of something and that you're there for the students, that sets the tone for what they're going to do. You know, don't just say to a staff member, I really need you in the hallway to welcome kids, but you're not in the hallway welcoming anybody.
Yep.
I try to be
And
out there,
yeah.
like I said, lunch, recess, arrival, dismissal. I'm trying to be anywhere I can be throughout the day, because I want the teachers to see that I'm part of their day, and that they need something to poke their head up. I'm probably right there.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I want to kind of add to that. I think for a lot of teachers, they just naturally see it. They're like, okay, AJ's out there. He's greet kids at the front door. I want to make sure I greet kids at my classroom door. For others, they may not pick up on that and see that. And they're still trying to rustle through papers and get their day started at 8 o'clock. But when you go have that conversation with the teacher and say, hey, I'd really like for you to start greeting kids at the door, you can back that up and say, I do it every day at the front of the building. And here's what I see. Here are the benefits. I just had this conversation this morning. I was working with the school and talked about that. The importance of the first 60 seconds of the day,
Mm,
how it is,
yeah,
not only do you get to see kids and greet kids and start their day right, but you also get to check the temperature of every kid that walks into your building or your classroom. It's like one of those little, thermometers you just put on the front of your
yep,
head, the
yep,
invisible ones. If you can see a kid walk in with their head down, stomping their feet, and they never do that, then you need to go into triage here and figure out what's going on. And if you do that, then you're going to prevent the desk flying across the classroom by 9:30.
Absolutely.
It's not fair for anybody to go through that situation in classroom, and educators that are listening, you know what I'm talking about. What can we do to prevent that? And it's as simple as, the first 60 seconds of the day, making sure that you check the temperature and set the tone right.
Absolutely, and I think I think my staff does that very well, and like I said, my counselors out there, special teachers are out there, I'm out there, so we would be able to tell, like, right away whether a kid comes in the front door and they're not feeling it, and all of a sudden they're in class. Maybe it shifts. Maybe they were super excited coming into the building, and now they're in class. It's like, whoa, I didn't see you like that 10 minutes ago. What happened? So we're
Yeah.
on top of it, and I think that's really something my teachers take pride in, and I'm happy that they do because they know those kids inside and out.
Yeah. Great. So, next question for you. As a teacher or as a leader, educator in general, education in 2026 can easily become a very negative thing. Just everything that I call them red lights, green lights, all the red lights that we are up against right now. How do we overcome all of that?
Yeah, that's the hard question here, right? Because we have
Yeah.
so many things
That's
that are
why you're
going
here. That's why I
on.
had you as a
That's
guest.
it.
Bring the heat.
I'm here to solve world problems and education's problems. No, but like in all seriousness, as an educator, my wife is an educator as well. Being with educators all day, it's not something that's going to change tomorrow. And I hate to say it like that because I feel like education has shifted. Unfortunately, not for the best, right? I think we have too many demands on educators right now. I think we have too many state exams. I think kids are seen more as data than they are as kids, you know?
Humans. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we're sitting here, one of the things I said at the beginning, you asked me, what do I stand for right now? I said grades don't matter. Parents emailing teachers because of small percentages on a test or,
Yeah.
you know, what do we care about more right now? And I think, as a parent, we find it difficult for our kids to be part of the real world, right? We find it difficult for our kids now since COVID to fit in. And I don't want to blame technology, right? You can't. Like we know it's there, we know it could be a crutch, and we know kids go right to it. You know, I don't think our kids are finding passions.
Mm.
And I think that's what's making education tough right now. I think
Ah, that's
kids are
good.
struggling because I don't think they know how to think for themselves. I want to see more critical thinking. I want to see more collaboration. I want to see more creativity. And if we revert back to old ways after COVID because now there's too much technology, I think we're doing
Yeah.
harm to our kids. Like, I believe in a pen and pencil, you
Yeah.
know, because I write down everything. I got my notebook, I walk around with it, but I have my computer too. So it's how we fix that to find that balance in our classrooms, you know? So for our teachers right now, the emails are constant. I
Yeah.
think one of the worst things that we did was give email access to teachers because it's just a constant barrage from,
Yes.
you know, 1% of your parents, right? They always
Yeah.
want, they want, they want, but they want for their kids. So as a parent, we have to look at that and say, okay, so I'm seeing it as annoyance, quote unquote. But at the same point, that parent's like, I'm just trying to be, you know, mama bear or big dad for
Yeah.
my
It's their
kids because
baby.
I want the best, So we're all torn because we see what we want in our schools. We know what we need for our students to succeed. But at the same time, it's not the same belief outside, for parents. They see other things that are more important to them than, you know, fifth grade science or fourth grade social studies.
Yes.
Those are things that are not going to matter to them in the long run. They want to know how our kids are getting along and with their peers. How are they collaborating? How are they raising their hand? Are they participating? Like that's what the parents want. They don't need numbers. They just need to know that their
Awesome.
kid are set up well. And it's our job now as a school or as schools in general to figure out how we can incorporate all that into the day.
Yeah. Awesome answer. Great, great answer. I love that. I want to add two pieces to piggyback onto your answer. One, when it comes to parents, and I think educators immediately when we hear parents, our guard goes up. I'm like, we're ready to go on
Sure.
defense.
Sure.
Here's what we got to do. We got to put the walls down. And at the end of the day, I'm a teacher. You're a parent. We want the same thing for that kid, the best. Sometimes that looks differently, but we just want what's best. And so I think it's too many teachers getting little email wars with parents, again, over 1 or 2%. Pick up the dang phone, make a phone call, or say, hey, my prep is at 9 o'clock. Can you come in and let's have a face to face conversation? And parents just want to be heard. They just want to be heard and know that you want what's best for our kid and find that common ground. Don't get into the email war, the dojo messaging back and forth with parent. Just say, hey, can we have a time that we can talk and talk this out? I think that's so much needed in our schools with teachers. Like, stop making big deals out of little deals. And then two, I love that you said talking about, kids need to find passions and be pushed. How do we push kids in their creativity when they can find an answer on Chat GPT or do
Hmm.
a Google search in like 0.5 seconds?
Hmm.
Why would I need to do a research project when I can have it all to me within seconds? And so I love that you said that. Like, let's find some passions if we're not finding this. And I talk about that all the time in technology. I know you're a big technology guy. Let's use AI and Chat GPT to get our time back. Okay, we don't have to put all this time into a research project now. What can
Hmm.
we do to find our passions? And so it's a great, just practical strategy, which kind of leads me into this last question in this topic of challenge to success. And do you have any just real practical strategies? You already gave us so many, but for our listeners, for educators, that they can implement into their daily routine that just helps them look at this from a positive lens, from taking challenges to success.
I honestly think like we can do things and I can say anything I want and people could follow or not. But I honestly think the number one thing is just talk to the kids. You know,
Yeah.
I never started my class and like, all right, do now's on the board, get to work. It was
Mhm.
always I would walk them at the door, they'd come in, they get their stuff ready. But I always had at least like a 2 or 3 minute conversation just to check in, especially if it was
Yeah.
on a Monday morning. Like
Yeah.
my kids knew how to get me off track, right? They knew. And that was okay because
I
there
bring
were
up
some
Yankees.
moments, but whatever it was, but there were some moments where the topic of social studies to my seventh and eighth graders was not necessary at that moment, but it
Yeah.
was what they were feeling and what they were thinking. Like in my classroom, one of the things I did all the time is I had a quote board. And every day I would put a quote up on that board, just a whiteboard. I would write it every morning as part of
Mhm.
my routine, and kids would look at it. And sometimes they would actually like ask questions about that quote. I always put who said it. So they can say, who is, Theodore Roosevelt? Who is Henry Ford?
Yep.
What do they stand for? What do they believe in? Bang. There's the question. That's the lesson for the day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to scrap it. So I think educators out there, and I know, this is the biggest thing, build those relationships because those
Mhm.
relationships are what's going to get your students excited. And when they start maybe finding those little things that they're interested in, bang, there's their passion, there's their hook. Now they're math lovers for life or whatever the case may be. But it's something to get them started and get them into a right mindset to want to learn.
Yeah. It's great advice. I like how you said, scrap the lesson. Well, whether you want to call it the check-in, community circle, whatever name you want to give it, that time is so more important than any lesson you're going to teach today. And if it goes from 5 minutes to you're looking at 20 minutes into your lesson or your day, that's okay because more learning is going to take place post this conversation than it ever would have if we wouldn't have went there. And
Maybe
so,
maybe the kids bring it to lunch and they keep talking about it there. You never know.
exactly, exactly. So, thank you for that. You've given so much advice to educators already in this 30-minute conversation. But what is was something, and maybe you say it to your teachers all the time or people that you speak to with, but what advice do you just give them in general, to the educators you work with on a daily basis?
Oh, I don't like to give advice. I really don't because I don't want to. I don't want to be. I don't want to be seen as somebody who like goes back on my word, right? So I don't like
Yeah,
giving advice. I like listening, and I think, you know, I'm a shameless plug right now. You mentioned in the beginning, I'm a podcaster as well. So
yeah,
me and my buddy Chris Nessie, another New Jersey educator, we have a podcast PD, and like our topic right now is fixing education. So like, look, we're not looking to make drastic changes, but we're looking for people to share their thinking of what's been working for them in the classroom and what's been working in their schools to shift our students to think. So I don't have advice because I'm still learning. You know,
Yeah.
this new student in 2026 is like, it's strange to us, right? Like, look, doing this for 21 years and I've seen that shift. And I know there's educators out there have been doing it for longer. And like, all we want to say is, why don't they want to learn? I don't know.
Mhm.
Like, why don't our
Yeah.
kids want to learn? Like, I looked at my son this morning. I was like, come on, bud, let's get out of bed and let's start today. He's like, I don't want to go to school. Why? Like, why don't you
Yeah.
want to go? Like, for me, I loved going to school, not because of the
Never felt that.
content. I hated school. I absolutely hated school, but my friends were there. I was able to play sports at the end of the day. And I guess that was the place we had our conversation, right? When we got there, we hadn't talked to those people for a full day. Now that's different. You know, now they have that constant communication, but it's that face to face. So my advice, honestly, is just find other educators and just have that conversation of what is working for you. Because
Mhm.
down the hallway in this building by itself, something's going to work for one teacher that is not working for another, but maybe they can communicate and find out a way they can make it work. You know, I, I I just want to see our schools shift because
Mhm.
honestly, this model of education is not going to last long as
No,
more kids are
no.
coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this the student setting in the seat in 2026 does not look anything like the student setting in 2020 is unreal. So we have to change our ways. It's not sustainable. And I love that you said, we can't do it alone, but it's going to take everybody doing their part and those that have figured it out to share what's going on.
But we
And
can't have
so,
those negative conversations. I'm sorry to cut you off. Like, the one thing we
no, you're
can't
fine.
have is we can't have people say these kids are just not going to learn. They are. They're
Yeah,
just not going to learn your way. So we have to find a way to meet our kids so that they feel comfortable in the classroom. So we can't
exactly.
have that negative conversation. It's got to stop.
It's not getting us anywhere, is it?
No way. No way.
Good. What advice do you give to your students? Is there something that if I pulled 10 of your students, they're going to all tell me Mr. Bianco says?
We have an assembly every month, and I make sure I always say, work hard, be kind, have fun. Right? I
That's
say
it.
if we can do those three things, then we're gonna have a good day. And if we can't do one of those, then you're gonna be in my office, you're gonna be talking to somebody else. So as long as my kids are working hard, being kind, and having fun, it's a good day at school. So I think the kids would know that. But again, a quick fist bump or a quick heads up or how you doing in the hallway, that's gonna shift our kids every day. So my advice is to them is just smile. Like, honestly, just smile and go to class and enjoy the time that you have there with your other friends.
You're a champion for your students. I can tell that. I always have been.
Thank you.
And I think if I pulled those 10 students, all of them would say that Mr. Bianco's got my back. And that means a lot. So, another powerful conversation here on the School Life series. Thank you again, AJ, for sharing your story, but more importantly, just sharing your heart for this work. I know I'm fired up and talking to you about this, and I want to go out and, change the world and change education. For those of you that are listening, I know you're feeling the same way that I am. If you connected with today's episode, I encourage you, reach out to AJ. He's looking for guests on his podcast as well.
Absolutely.
And he's, like I said, he's looking for thought leaders that want to make a difference. So, AJ, will you share with our listeners how they can connect with you?
Yeah, anywhere you have social media. So like my biggest thing lately is LinkedIn and Instagram. Just AJ Bianco. I'm not secretive. You know, everything is combined because, like I said, education and dad is all together. Whatever it is. Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, AJ Bianco. You'll find me.
Yeah, I love that. I've always had that mentality of my life is open. Who I am today is who I'm gonna be tomorrow when I'm
It
off the
shows the
clock.
students what real social media should look like. That's how I always thought of it because my kids found
Yeah.
me and I was like, "What did you notice? Like, your life is boring." I'm like, "Why?" Because I post about education, hang out with my kids. They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, that's who I am. I don't need anything else."
I'm proud of it. Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you again. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Ross. Thank you, man.
It's been a great episode and great conversation. So, and as always, thank you to our listeners for just being a part of the School Life community. If there's a guest that you'd like to hear or a topic that you want us to dive into, reach out, let us know, and we will make it happen for you. So, until next time, keep doing the work, keep choosing positivity, and be great today.